I got a fantastic guy here, Rohit Prasad from Amazon, who I think hopefully is going to tell what Amazon is doing to transform the world through AI and applications of AI in a variety of fields. Rohit currently is a senior vice president and a head scientist for artificial general intelligence at Amazon. And as part of it, he's driving the company's generative AI technologies, including NOVA, the state-of-the-art family of models, large language or foundation models from Amazon. Prior to this, Rohit was heading up Alexa, but as part of that, he was mostly focused on, hey, how do I think about what I call bringing the best of human-like intelligence and machine learning to be able to accelerate the future of ambient intelligence. And his work has been seminal in that area. And so with great pleasure, let's welcome Rohit on stage here.
How are you? Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Rohit.
No, thank you for having me here.
I did give a brief intro of you to the group, but it'd be great to start with, why don't you talk about your sort of professional journey leading up to where you are today?
My professional journey is just being lucky. so I started with, my childhood dream was to be able to talk to machines. And I grew up in the Star Trek era, and I think anyone as old as me would say that they shared the same dream. After 14 years of working on cutting-edge R&D in Cambridge, Massachusetts, in a lab that was one of the founding sites of the ARPANET and a lot of firsts in speech recognition and other areas, I got lucky to be called on this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of building what became Alexa. After leading many of those teams in the Alexa journey, where it scaled to bring the ambient intelligence into our household, where you could just suddenly talk to machines around you and not have to think about how to speak to them, was started then. And very humbling to see millions and millions of households around the world using Alexa completely change the way we interact with machines and AI in general. And then we said a little over a year ago that there's an even bigger opportunity of building a foundational AI that can make our customers' lives easier and better every day across our businesses. Shopping, clearly all of you hopefully are shoppers on Amazon. It's a pretty important area for us, and a foundational AI that can make shopping much better is key. In our enterprise business with AWS, for us to provide the best set of models for our customers to build their applications on was key. And you just go around like advertising. Alexa is the personal assistant that can be completely reimagined with this generative AI era. So very excited with where we are today. It's still very much day one in the Amazon lingo, and excited to what we can bring to customers like all around the world.
To steal a phrase from Amazon and what he just mentioned, Rohit, we are sort of in day one of what we call the reasoning revolution. Tim was here up on stage a few minutes ago framing how we are thinking about us being in the early days of reasoning revolution. And the big difference from our perspective, at least, is if you go back one or two revolutions before, like in the industrial revolution kind of thing, it's sort of brought machines into play, but those machines would sort of, what I call depreciate, okay, over time. We think the big difference in the reasoning revolution is machines are going to appreciate, mostly because they're going to learn from data and they're going to have a continuous learning system built in. And that's what makes this that much more exciting. But if you take a step back and think about the world at large, how do you see AI having a positive impact around the world or a transformational impact on the world?
Yeah, super exciting times. I think the key thing is that we are now moving from chatbots that just tell you things to agents that can actually do things. Still early, but what I really appreciated about the previous presentation was the fact that it's trying to attack the hardest problems, which is, can you integrate and make decisions on the data that you really value for that domain, and how can you do it in the most secure manner with the right sharing as well? Incredibly hard problem, but this is the exact way that these reasoning and planning systems of this next era of AI is essentially about. Like, can you integrate different sources of knowledge? Can you decompose a high-level task into constituents and actually execute them with very high reliability? So this is where now reliability and provenance are going to become much bigger deal, as we get to real-world deployments and problems that really matter for us. And we are very excited with where we are seeing evidence of this in other areas, like we work with MIT and metamaterials, where they're looking at predicting material attributes using Nova family of foundation models. That gives you a sort of a peek into what is possible in actually very hard science problems as well. At the same time, we're using AI in predicting equipment failures before they happen, and personalized learning. All of these are getting into what now it's become very popular thanks to Andrew Ng in terms of calling it agentic AI. So, but this is where now the rubber meets the road.
Great. You just referenced Nova models from your team and from Amazon. Can we sort of dig into that a little bit? Like, I think in the last 6 months or so, if I remember right, you already come out with like 8 different models.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about like the Nova family of models, and where do you see that evolving?
Yeah. So Amazon Nova is our new generation of family of foundation models. It, as you said, came with 8 models. Already over the last 8 months, we have introduced to the world. Tens of thousands of customers are using it on a daily basis. And the way this works is essentially that we have, I would say, 3 categories of models. One are called what is perception models or understanding models, where you take any modality as inputs, text, video, images, and output text. So these are perception models. And then you have these content creation models, like you can create videos and images, and we have Nova Canvas and Nova Reel in that. And then we have where the industry is moving more and more is of modality fusion, where you can go from any modality to any modality, and it's the output. And that's where we have one of course, given my lineage, is a Nova Sonic model, which actually takes speech in and outputs speech for conversational interactions. And what I'm also excited, going back to your agentic AI one, we really believe reliable agents are key. So we have started with Nova Act, which is now in early preview on AWS for us to deploy reliable agents, focusing more on UI automation, or sometimes that's referred also as computer use. Because I think of AGI, one definition, which is, I mean, AGI is also a marketing term, but one of the key things is that it is essentially a particular milestone would be, can the AI do everything you and I can do at expert level through a computer? And taking UI actions or automating workflows like form filling and so forth, which doesn't seem that highly intelligent, actually tend to be quite complex. And AI, that has been true, that things that we think are easy for us are actually hard for the machine, and vice versa. So this is why we're focused there with very reliable agents that can actually be built using Nova Act model for executing workflows that require filling many forms or so forth. Like we're seeing Alvi Health, which is a company that works on food assistance being simpler. And they automated hundreds of steps with Nova Act. And that's an example of what you can do with when you can focus on building reliable agents.
It's sort of fascinating to see that even in the short amount of time since those models have come out, the tens of thousands of customers are using those models. But Amazon in general also believed in, right from day one, believed in the notion that, hey, there is no one model that's going to rule everything, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to have a variety of models, some, what I call horizontal large language models, frontier models, some that are domain specific, small models, medium models, all kinds of models, right? And people can choose what models they want to use for which use cases, so that they get the best in the process, right? And you did that by starting with your Bedrock platform, even before you said, hey, let's go build some models. But in addition to all the great work that you guys are doing, you also have a fantastic partnership with Anthropic. Okay, tell us a little bit about that partnership and how that partnership has evolved, both from Amazon's perspective as well as from Anthropic's perspective, and the fact that you now have your own large language models. What does that do to that partnership?
Yeah, I would say very happy with the partnership with Anthropic. As you mentioned, we care a lot about giving customers choice. And from that perspective, Anthropic has been great for the Claude models. It's great at many tasks like software engineering. And as you said, there's no one model that does everything really well. So from that perspective, the widest selection of foundation models is absolutely imperative for us to have on Bedrock, for customers to have the best set of options. And this we are seeing both internally and externally, that customers in their applications are always looking to see the best of the models, what they can do for themselves. and then integrating in many different applications. So we see that even in internal, we let customers, for building the best application for customers, this model choice has been absolutely imperative on things like Alexa, for other applications in advertising, that we always use a combination of models.
That's great. And you, from your perspective, continuing the notion that like, hey, there is a platform and people can get to choose the best models. That's the way you feel the future is moving.
Yeah, I think it's still very early, and but there are many learnings we have along the way. First of all, price performance matters a lot. When customers are evolving from tryouts to actually scaled loads, they suddenly want to have models that can be more cost efficient. And these are important learnings. This is where our end-to-end stack in terms of optimizing from Trainium to everything at the model layer is absolutely critical. The second learning we are seeing is the first 80% of the way is super easy with the foundation model. You prompt it and you suddenly see, well, it can do all these things. But the next 10% is incredibly hard. That's where it gets into, can I plug my APIs in it? Have I make my APIs compliant with MCP or another standard, for instance, where it is really LLM ready for executing real world tasks? So that's the other hard part. And the third thing we have seen, which we're very excited with the work we have done in making these models more customizable for your use case for that last 10% of the problem, is that introduce the most comprehensive set of customization tools for any frontier model, where you can do all the way from fine-tuning to for post-training areas, and we'll continue to go deeper there. But that kind of ability for you to customize in your application space, your environment, has been absolutely key.
That's great. You know, one of the things that I've always, and coming from a Microsoft background, I can tell you this because Microsoft believed in this as well, but little differently than how Amazon has sort of prioritized this, which is most of the technologies that are being built in Amazon, almost always the first and best customer is Amazon. If we can make it work for us, then yeah, we can make it work for the rest of the world, right? So as much as tens of thousands of customers are using your models and are building on top of AWS for their AI applications, tell us a little bit about how things work internally. Particularly, for example, right? I know that your team is sort of driving adoption of AI across all of Amazon kind of thing, even outside of AWS. But how do decisions get made? Is there a bunch of standardization that gets driven down from the top? Is it a lot of it decentralized in terms of what data to use, what models to use, how to apply? How does it work inside Amazon?
Yeah, I say this technology is not just about a paradigm change in the science and technology, but also a paradigm change in how you organize and how you build with it. First and foremost, of course, we are a central team, which you will think about in Amazon is a very difficult word. But central team this was absolutely needed to bring all the assets together for building the frontier scale models. Because let's admit it, building one itself is extremely expensive and has to be highly leveraged. Forget about building 5 or 3 in the company, right? So this is why that kind of centralization to build the world-class foundation model was absolutely essential. And then I strongly believe that the way we get the learnings fast is by having this model learn in real-world environments with the applications that are built across Amazon. The way to think about the next wave is essentially that every application is an environment for the model to learn in with self-play or self-learning. And that's the way, if we can build enough of these reinforcement learning gems, which is a term that has become popular for the model to learn in an environment, all these applications internally are essentially a learning environment for the model. That's how you get to what, again, a more controversial term, not general purpose intelligence, but more generally intelligent systems that are just great out of the box and can learn a new task with minimum input. So that's what we are driving. And this is where the internal feedback is extremely important for us to make the right set of solutions exposed to external customers. So this is the clear learning synergy that we see. And then on the same side, when we build the internal models for us was, for an example, our ads use case needed an image and video generator. So we built it because someone in the internal company itself needed it. and then we could expose it externally as well.
I remember being in a conversation with Andy about a year ago, and we were asking Andy about hey, how's AI being applied inside the company? And Andy said hey, I go talk to every team, and when I go talk to a team, I sort of go in with the mindset that I hope that this team is not building its own model, and if they are building their own model, I need to tell them what they are doing is wrong, and they should take a bet on other models that are existing in the company before they go build something, right? But he says, every conversation I go in, that's the mindset I go in with. But then I listen to the team, I listen to their requirements, I listen to what they are doing and why they are doing. And I walk away saying, hey, there is a valid reason why these guys should be building their own model, right? And he says, time after time, meeting after meeting, team after team, that's how I come back. And that was part of the reason why we felt so strongly about starting with Bedrock and making sure that we provide AI as a service or model as a service, as opposed to saying hey, we are going to start with models. And that's fantastic to hear you validate that.
Yeah. Also, this is where customization comes in too, that internally customers have checkpoints of NOAA that they can make it their own by adding their own domain-specific data in it. And this is where that continuous learning with the different businesses has been pivotal for NOAA to improve fast.
Can you talk a little bit about outside of AWS, inside Amazon, what are some of the places where you see AI having the biggest impact? Is it in the distribution centers? Is it, you referenced advertising just now? Is it in the fast-growing advertising business? Is it some other part of Amazon? Can you talk about a couple areas where you see huge impact because of AI?
Yeah, virtually every business in Amazon is going big with generative AI and foundation models. In fulfillment center already for inventory planning and so forth is being used. In advertising, just a few days back, we did Creative AI Studio, where it's making it easy for ads creatives. And we see huge improvement in relevance of the ads as well in that industry. So again, an internal business building on it. In shopping, the Buy For Me button and so forth, all of these are having AI embedded through the foundation model era. And of course, Alexa Plus, which we also had a devices event yesterday, you learned about new set of devices too. But more importantly, Alexa Plus is completely re-architected from ground up with AI, with large language models powering its intelligence. And so these are all the few examples where we are seeing internal success, and that's the way I think we'll go more. And for those of you, I think one of the biggest things, as you may be seeing, is in the internal productivity for software development, where we have seen with Kiro for our new Agentic ID coding interface, and our QCLI, which is our command line version for software development. Both are improving our productivity as well. And one of the good examples, which I think is also true in every place, I want AI to do the muck for me, not the creative work for me. And that's what we're seeing as well, that in every company, you have to deal with some transformations, upgrade of Java versions, deployment of some legacy code that you want to change. That's where I think a lot of work is happening, which doesn't get enough attention, but that's something that we should be really cherishing, of how businesses are using AI internally.
Great. Why don't we open it up to the audience and see if people here have any questions for you, Rohit? Here is your chance to ask Rohit. There's one there. Go ahead. I think somebody is trying to get you a microphone, so just 1 second, please.
Thank you. Thanks, Rohit. One question about NOAA. Interested more if you can share. It's a big topic on voice agents, speech to speech. What are your thoughts? Can it be solved with one model?
Speech to speech, I definitely think one model can do it in terms of for the voice agent application, as long as it's exposing tool calling abilities where it can integrate with your own tools that will help you, like in the application. Let's say it's a customer service application, you want to pull some database information. So that kind of tool calling abilities are inbuilt. And that's why we believe it can actually give not only great natural human-like conversation, but also the ability to call the right set of tools to give you the more pertinent information and then take an action with it. So this is why tool calling capabilities are absolutely essential for all agentic applications.
There's one question here.
Hi. So my question is, Amazon's a great culture of leadership principles and very innovative company. I'm just internally, how do you get teams and processes themselves to embrace generative AI internally? What are some of the metrics you use? What are some of the challenges?
Yeah, I think internally, there are two things that I say. First of all, we hire leaders. I mean, everyone's a leader in my mind. I think one of the key things is if there's that we always want to embrace something new, right? And if you look at our leadership principle of invent and simplify, that's clearly in our DNA. So teams definitely are trying on their own. We have a myriad of tools that are built in, which essentially you can go and access and get the right tool for your purposes. Of course, this leads some of the discovery challenges, but our own suite, we are the best customers of our own products, right? Starting with Q, starting with Kiro, Nova, all these applications and foundation models, we are giving easy access, so the teams are always imagining that way. At the same time, I think you have to lead from example to it. There's some top-down directive is often needed to let the team say, it's okay, it's going to be hard for a while, but let's try this out. And I think that's where it has to be both bottom-up and top-down in terms of driving a change. Just like if you were in the computing era, I sort of compare this like in the early days of computing era, if you did not adapt to it, then you fell behind. If you, in the internet era, if you didn't embrace the internet, then you fell behind. So this is why I think the same thing is true in generative AI in my mind. I think while the applications aren't perfect, the only way they get better is by internally us trying them as well.
Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me? When will we have an Amazon housebot?
I mean, this is your favorite topic, Pedro. So nothing to reveal there, and you have to ask Panos.
Meaning soon, huh?
Okay, maybe we'll take one last question there and then wrap it up.
Thanks, Rohit. One of the key questions I wanted to ask was, as far as the development of the models themselves, Nova, or the adoption of it, what have you seen as some of the key trade-offs the team has had to navigate in the development of those models or driving the adoption of it in the org?
Yeah, one of the things that, first of all, I think of it as, at least internally, we don't think of it as one model and at one time. This is not like a waterfallish development. I think you should be thinking of this as where we are essentially building a model factory that can release a lot of models at a fast cadence. That infrastructure and the mindset is key because that's how you can actually improve the models faster. Still early in that, right? However, as you look at, like, as I was already speaking, there's a lot of co-design that happens in terms of how, what applications you have in mind as early as in the pre-training stages of the model building. So that's where most of the trade-off decisions go in, that we know that you can't ace everything in the same model in the same timeline. So you, at every release cadence, you're thinking about what properties do I want to excel at. So as I mentioned, tool calling is absolutely central for agentic AI to be great, so that the model can take a large set of tools, decide which one to invoke at the right moment, and then get it done. Similarly, on software engineering is super important because an AI that can create a tool is also going to be very useful in getting most tasks done. So these are the kind of properties you think about when you're starting a big run of production models. But at the experimentation stage, the way we think about it is what are the key attributes of the model, and have a research team focused on doing those. And then the trade-off comes from where do you want the product in the particular launch timeline, what properties are absolutely unnegotiable, and what properties you can, it's just okay to be not great at the very beginning.
Great. Thank you very much, Rohit,
Thank you
for a great conversation here this morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.